Things that we are going to be discussing tonight include completing the application process, some entrance exam information. A couple of people had questions about college entrance exams as well as taking a practice test, and essays, letters of recommendation, financial aid, and of course, we'll have some question and answer time, but that'll be in between those sections as well. Um, Several of the people that are planning to come tonight are in the California area, so we are going to talk a little bit about California colleges. In particular, we have the University of California. We have a website here, and before I forget, actually, I do have a um, presentation, a PDF of this presentation. Let me put that in the chat box for you. The PDF will also have active links. And so you can click on those active links if you want to see any of those particular websites that we reference. The University of California, they do have an $80 application fee, and they don't require letters of recommendation, but they do have essay requirements. There are personal insight essay requirements that they can choose from, and students can choose from 4 of, I believe, 8. And Eleni Gillis will be talking a little bit more about that later. For the California State University, just like the UC system, their application deadline is by December 1st, and it's already open now. So if you want to even go and check out some of those um, uh, questions, or I'm sorry, the essay, look at the essay questions just to get an idea of what essays you might have for next year if you're not a senior, then you could even go and take a look at those at any point. There are a lot of California community colleges, and in any of the states, I'd highly recommend to look at some of the community colleges if you're unsure about whether you are wanting to go to a 4-year university right away. There's lots of benefits for attending a community college, such as a transfer program to 4-year universities. These are called the TAG programs, or Transfer Admission Guarantee. There's a lot of certificate programs that are offered at California community colleges, and these take 2 or 3 semesters to complete. And tuition is by far cheaper than a 4-year university as well. Um, Now, a lot of the uh, state systems have platforms where they offer information about planning for college, information about financial aid, and this is an example of one that California uses. It's called californiacolleges.edu. But I know there are several of you that are coming from other states, and so I looked up some websites that other states use. So if you are not in California, I'm going to put this in the chat box here. So just a moment. So these, okay, hold on a second. I lost my chat box. There it is. Okay. So these are some other websites that are used in other states for planning for colleges and careers and helping to find financial aid. So this one is specific to California, but there are other specifics to other states. So before we continue on to our next section, does anybody have any questions that they want to ask about the college application process for any of the California schools? These are the California public schools.
Well, that would probably be for in-state
These are
students.
for
Okay.
in-state schools,
I was
yes.
Tennessee, we have the lottery, and the state lottery fund goes to what's called the Hope Scholarship. And for the first 2 years, you get community college for free.
Oh,
And
good.
those
That's similar to
transfer.
what California does too.
Okay.
So that,
Okay. And then you can transfer to a 4-year program. Up to,
So there, yeah, that's amazing. I know in California we do also have some possibilities like that as well. Eleni, you had mentioned, did
yeah,
you mention about one of those?
yeah, California schools, junior colleges, they're free for 4 semesters. So you're for 2 years. So same thing. Um, I don't know exactly. I can't remember exactly what it's called. It's not called the Hope Scholarship, but it's
Mhm.
basically free for some students, depending on where you're at, and that particular school will, you have to can maintain a GPA and then they refund you, which is what happened with my son his first year, and then the second year was just free. It could have been because it was COVID too. So
And do you have to be a California resident to get that?
yeah, for
Okay.
California, yes, for California, you do have to be a California resident if you're
Okay.
going to California Community College. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. And I know that there are a lot of students at our school that are looking at out of state universities or in state out of California universities or private universities. Um, so the complete application for the specific private or out of state universities can often be found online. But you have to be careful to look for individual deadlines for these colleges. So some of the colleges might have a deadline of November 1st, like the California schools, but some might be in December or even rolling admission. So it's really important to make sure that you are aware of those deadlines. Um, the schools often use the Common App or Coalition app in order to complete applications. And if those are not on Common App or Coalition, then they would be on the individual university's website where you can find the application. So, looking at Coalition first, this is not as common as the Common App, but there are more than 160 colleges that use Coalition app, and a lot of these colleges tend to be Ivy League schools. And these often offer very good financial aid packages. And the other application that's very popular online is the Common App. This is one that I see more often from our students. There are over 1,000 colleges that use the Common App, and actually over 1,100 of them use it this year. And it's been around since 1975, so they're going on 50 years this year, and started out as a paper application, and now it's all online. And in this case, there are essays that students often have to complete, and we'll go through that later, but there will be choices between 7 essay prompts for the Common App application. So what is needed for applications? Something that is very important is your high school transcript. So you can use CPA's transcript request link in order to order your transcript from our school. This will help you to have a evidence of the grades and the courses that you've completed and make sure that everything is up to date. I haven't seen in my period of time that I've been assistant principal at CPA, I haven't seen errors made on our transcripts, but I have seen errors made on other school transcripts. And that's not saying that we will never have errors. So it's always a good idea to look at your transcript before it's sent out to a college and just make sure that everything is as you predicted that it would be. It's always a good idea to do that. It also helps to have a list of activities for which you've participated in high school. This includes work information, sports, family responsibilities. These are all information or pieces of information that you can include either in essays or in specific questions that are asked in the application. You will also need your parent and guardian information, as well as academic honors and achievements that you might have received. For an example, for those of you who have gotten above a 3.0 GPA here at CPA, you might have been on the honor roll, so either gold or silver or bronze honor roll. And so this is going to be helpful to include that on certain awards that you might have from CPA, for an example. Also, test scores and dates from college entrance exams are also helpful, like the SATs or the ACTs. So make sure to have that information ready with you when you do make an application. Regarding college entrance exams, not all colleges require SATs or ACTs anymore. So there's a couple of different types of requirements. One is called test optional, which colleges will allow you to submit an SAT or ACT score, but they don't require it. So this is only helpful when you have a high test score, but your other admission requirements have not been met, like maybe you have a low GPA and you want to show the college that you're college ready. So you might want to take the SAT to show that you are ready for college level exams. There's also test flexible, where colleges may allow you to submit a test other than the SAT or the ACT. So this might be AP exams or international baccalaureate exams, for an example. And there's test blind. So our California public universities are test blind, for an example, where they will not even consider SAT or ACT scores if submitted. So they don't include that for the admissions process. For SATs, you need to register for the SAT at collegeboard.org. And if you want to do it this year, it's not too late to register for the November 8th exam. If you are interested in the November 8th exam, you'll need to register by October 24th. For the ACT, you would go to act.org, and the next available exam for the ACT is on December 13th of this year, and you'll need to register by November 7th. And there's also late registration as well. So there is still a chance that you could register after those dates, but pay a late fee. So what's the difference between the two college entrance exams? The SAT is shorter. It has more adaptive questions. It's kind of geared toward very careful thinkers and focuses on algebra and graphs. There are two main sections, and I have a typo in here. I put two math sections. There's two main sections, the reading and writing section and the math section. There's no essay. There's no guessing penalties, and you could get a score between 400 and 1600. Khan Academy does partner with the College Board to offer free SAT prep as well. Now, Eleni, you had mentioned in the past that your children took the test first to see how they did, and then decided on what they needed to prep for the SAT. Is that correct?
Yes. So if you go onto the College Board, you can register for a PSAT, or if you go on ACT, on the act.org, when you can register for a PACT. I believe the PACTs are still done online, so you don't have to go anywhere to take them. The SAT, you will probably have to choose a location in your area to go take one, but there's no real way to study for these. I mean, you can do the practice studies and you can get booklets, but I tend to encourage parents to just like what my kids did. We just took the PSAT blindly. And then once you get your tests back, my kids never did the ACT. So, but I know it's pretty similar. They give you, when you get your scores back, it's wonderful because they tell you where your strengths and where your weaknesses are and how to study for them, or what you need to study for. So it's a little bit easier if you did like my oldest son did really well on English, and he did okay on math, and it was really great because math you can actually study for. You can actually go back and remember, oh yeah, let me just restudy this section that I forgot back in geometry, um I wouldn't worry so much about prepping for the PSATs. You want to take the PSATs and then prep for the actual SAT or ACTs. So this year, there are some schools now requiring SATs, and then as the years progress, so if you're a class of 2027 and 2028, um, there will be probably more colleges requiring them again. Right now, I'm only seeing the schools requiring them are the very, very like higher level elite schools, and then everybody else is test optional. Nicole had mentioned earlier, that's totally optional if you want to submit them or not, for those schools. But I think as we go on, you're going to start seeing more schools requiring them again.
Mhm.
These are taken the senior year, correct?
Well, you can take them. Some kids will take them in their junior year. The actual SATs, the PSATs, I think is a good to start now. Some even start in their sophomore year taking them. But if you're a junior, and I know there's some juniors and sophomores on here. You can take them now. I would suggest if you're a sophomore, at least complete geometry first before you take them, because there might be just too much that you haven't gotten yet. But my son actually so I have a junior in high school now, and I waited. He just took his. I haven't got his scores yet, but I waited because he did algebra 2 trig last year. So, and he's doing pre-calc this year. So I waited, so I knew he had, because there is a lot of algebra and a lot of algebra 2 on them. So sometimes it's beneficial to just kind of wait until you've actually taken those classes. But really, and sophomore year or the beginning of junior year, you want to take your PSATs, and then you can take your first SATs in the spring, and the spring of your junior year. And a lot of students will do that because then they don't score if they don't get the score they want, they have all these other, the summer and then the beginning of their senior year to get better scores and study. So that's my recommendation.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a
And
great
to be honest,
recommendation too.
if you're not a good test taker, and you're not going to apply to a college that requires them, you don't. I mean, my daughter didn't take them, and she's doing fine in college. So, she just wasn't a good test taker. So,
I wasn't
um,
either, but I only took the
mhm.
ACT, but I mean, I had
Yeah,
a 4.0. So,
yeah, yeah. No, yeah. So it's
Mhm.
really, and like we talked about ACTs, and it depends, take them both and see which ones you adapt to. That's the great thing about the practice ones. Some
so
kids
you
really
recommend to
do.
take both?
I do recommend to take both if you're not sure, because you may find one test is better for your learning style and how for you than the other. So I know a lot of kids that don't score great on the SATs do really good on the ACTs. They don't score on the SATs where their grade point average should, they think, and so then they take the ACTs, and then they're like, oh, I should have just done the ACT
Mhm.
instead. So it really depends on how how you learn and how you retain things. Um, which one is going to be better for you? That's why we put them out there for both
Okay.
Mhm.
different
Good
ones.
to know.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
there are certain states where the ACT is more popular. I believe
Hmm.
it's in the southern states. The ACT tends to be more popular than the SAT.
Yes.
So I would definitely look at the college website that you might be considering or Arnell is considering, and see what the college would prefer. So if the college does have a preference between the ACT and the SAT. Generally, if students are better with writing and science and like writing essays and have more of a geometry focus than algebra as far as math is concerned, then the ACT might be a better fit.
Yeah.
Like Eleni said,
Mhm.
SAT is more algebra as far as math, so that algebra 2 and even up through pre-calculus is going to be very important for math, but there's no essay for the SAT. And
Yeah.
the writing section and the reading section is shorter. So
Yeah.
that's something to consider.
SAT is really geared to STEM, to STEM students, I feel like.
Hmm.
Okay.
Or the ACTs, if you're more of a, free writer, yes, that's and a
Hmm.
Her
reader.
first choice doesn't require either of them, but
And it the only, and this is why I say take the PSATs and the PAC or the PACT and see, because you really, if they don't require them, and they're only if they don't need them at all, then don't take them. But if they're optional, if you score really well, that's going to help you. And so that's what I like about the test optional, because if you don't score it, it's only, you can submit it if it helps you only. So that's my recommendation. Well, after I saw my daughter's PSAT scores, I was like, yeah, we're not going to take my son, both my boys though. Well, my oldest one did very well in the SATs, and then my younger one, I have a feeling he's going to do. He's the one that has more of the math brain, and so I think he's going to do a lot better than even my older son. So
Did
okay.
anybody else have some questions regarding those college entrance exams or the applications, like Common App or Coalition, or where else they could find applications?
I'm going to interject something on the common apps, and those are at least the common app or the coalition. The coalition is geared for a little bit more higher level schools, but the common app, I know a lot of kids will do all of their applications on Common App, which is great, but you just know that you don't, if not all colleges require you to go through Common App. So if you like just going on each school's website to see, you can apply that way as well. You can just go onto their website. And sometimes that's beneficial if you want to apply early, because the Common App doesn't necessarily open for you to start applying, where if you goes directly to a certain college, sometimes they allow you to even start applying in July.
Yeah, and that might be really helpful if looking
Hmm.
at an art school too to see what kind of requirements for a portfolio might be necessary. So I agree that looking at a particular website before you start an application might be a good idea.
Thank you.
And then some colleges require you to go through Common App or Coalition to actually apply to their school.
Mm. All right. And Eleni, do you want to take it away
Yeah.
with college essays?
Do we have any seniors on? Because we don't have to focus on this if I don't have any seniors. I can go through it quickly. So do we have any seniors, Nicole,
It looks like
that are
Kira is.
on here? Oh, Kira. Hi, Kira. Okay. Have you started your essay writings, Kira?
I have not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Okay. Perfect. I just wanted to see who was on. Okay. So, what is a college essay? Obviously, it's a college essay is your personal statement, your personal response that admissions officers take into consideration when you go through their admission process. This helps colleges kind of learn who you are outside of your grades, along with the activities list. This is where you're going to um, highlight your story, highlight in your own words your story, your adversities. And I highly recommend, if you have a story, tell it. They are looking for, that uniqueness about you. So this is where you're going to highlight them, either in a personal response or an essay. So the first start, so we're going to start with PIQs, which are personal insight questions. The UCs schools, so I'm going to run through that because the UCs require it. It's more interview style. You're going to have a 350 word or less. It's going to be 350 word or less. Do not go over the word limit and stay as close as possible to the word limits. And don't you're going to show them. You're not going to just tell them. So they're not looking. They want you to really like demonstrate it versus just don't just be like investigative writing it or just reporting it. You're going to show your examples. You're going to show how you've done that. um you want it, the common applications can have they want a narrative flow. They're 650 words or less. Again, you want to show and not tell. You're going to provide concrete details, and so these are the common applications. And then here's there'll be links to the essay examples on the 10 common essay example link that I don't remember if we can send those out to you for essays examples. um, the UC Common Apps will have this section titled as additional comments. So for example, community, anything that this is a place for you to just kind of showcase anything outside of what you showcased in your essays. And then, so it's like personal loss. If you've had something traumatic happen to you, if you've gone through a personal struggle, these are really things for you to highlight because one thing that they like is they like to see students who have overcome adversity. So if you have any of these stories that you can tell that has happened to you that you've overcome, these are great stories to add into your these are great things to put into your essays for the admissions officers to read. So here are what they're looking for in a nutshell is who are you outside of your GPA and test scores? Of course, what do you have a story? What can you offer to the university? How do you approach obstacles? Are you likable? And then of course, can you write? And what can you share? That you already haven't shared in maybe your personal response. And so I highly encourage it for because we have sophomores on here and juniors. What they really also like to see is you building, you've started something and you're building on it throughout your whole high school experience. They're not looking for you to know what you want to do after high school, but let's say you hone in on a major and show how you've what you've done to make sure that's the major you really want to go into. And so I always for sophomores, I know because we have some sophomores and juniors on here, this is a good time for you to start developing your passions and building your story now, because like we don't all have deaths in our family or something like life changing that happens to us in high school. So your best thing is to work on whatever you're passionate about and start. If you're a sophomore, you really want to start developing that and start looking at things that you can do extracurricular wise to develop your passion into something that by your senior year you can write about. And it's junior year too. If you haven't started that, you just need to do that at a faster pace. But they really like to see that building block from what, your early high school to the, why you're applying to that school. And then in your writing process, in your essay process, you're going to they love to hear what you will do for that school. Like what can you implement at that school? What kind of other things will you do for that school that you choose, that community? Okay, and I'm going to rush through this, so I'm sorry. So let me go back real quick. In the essays, we went over this a little bit. A Common App will have 7 prompts. 650 words, just so you know. A lot of colleges, the 7 prompts, they'll make you choose 1 or 2, and then they'll have, some colleges will have separate ones outside of the Common App. So they'll want something specific to that college. The UC app, and I know we don't have a lot of California students, but if you're going to apply to a UC school, like a UCLA, Berkeley, anything, you're going to choose 4, you actually have to write 4 essays from the prompts. And then you have to write a 350 word PIQ, which is your, your personal statement. And this is where it's going to be, needs to be very concise and to the point. And then if you're applying to any Cal State schools, which are Cal State universities here in California, they don't require, actually, I shouldn't say that require, you cannot, it's not optional. They are basing it just on your activities list and your GPA. I will say a lot of state colleges, it's the same. I mean, I know like a lot of state colleges are the same as California, but a lot of out of state, like Oregon State, it's usually optional. So to write an essay or a personal statement, where at UC that's not. But I will say, if there's anything optional, if it says optional this, optional that, that means do it. Except for the SATs and the ACTs, your scores. But if it's an optional thing, you want to do it. You want to show that you're willing to do above and beyond what's actually just required. Okay. Thanks. Essays, do's and don'ts, Kira. If when you start, you're going to want to spell out your acronyms. Don't assume, like, these readers, admission readers, they have like 20 minutes, maybe 25 minutes to read your essay. So you want to make sure that you're capturing, you're hooking them right away. You're not assuming they know, what your acronyms mean. You're not assuming they know things. You want to make sure it's clear and concise, and you want to keep it conversational and very professional. Okay. And then the don't in your essays, do's and don'ts, it's not creative writing. So don't have 100 soliloquies or poetry, tons of poetry. You can add those in there for context and to make it interesting, but you don't want to, it's not a creative writing thing, and you don't want to philosophize, don't make jokes or have any questionable language, and 100% do not do your essays on AI. Don't use AI. If you need to get some ideas of how to write things and you want to put it through AI, do it. But then again, change everything into your own words. 100%, this will get you just not even an acceptance. They will just remove your application the minute they know it's an AI. And they can tell. They can tell without running it through AI whether it's AI generated or more than 50 to 60% AI generated. You want to avoid cliches. You want to be your own. You want to be unique. So these are just some cliches that you want to, the examples of cliches that you want to say it that way. For I need to be true to myself. Time heals all wounds. Every cloud has a silver lining. Win some, lose some. Little did I know, I learned more from them than they learned from me, etc. These are just some cliches. Just avoid. They're overused. So it's just a couple checklists as you're doing your college essays. Review your prompts and note your word count. And like I said, if it's a 350 word count, you go to 349, 350. Don't go one word over, and stay as close to that word count. So if it's a 350 word, maybe you want to do more than 200 words. Maybe you want to keep it more to the 300. So you want to come as close as possible, but you never want to go one word over. Okay. Check that you didn't make too many generalizations. Only write about yourself. Don't tell someone else's story. Believe it or not, some people do that. Don't over edit, and make sure you self-censor yourself. And then right here, this is what I was looking for. Right here are some free resources of how to get started, and what are good and bad essay samples. So the essay guy has some really good one, and then the personal response worksheet also has really good ones as well. If you just need like a guide of a good good writings. Any questions? I know I went over a lot, so.
Questions regarding essays? Does anybody here have ideas about what they want to write about their personal life or how they can make themselves stand out?
I'm not sure I have too many ideas, but I don't think I have any questions right now.
Okay.
Okay. Good. All right, we'll go ahead and move on then. So, several colleges may require letters of recommendation. Not all colleges require this, but if you do need a letter of recommendation, please make sure to give your recommenders at least 2 weeks notice. So I've definitely have had those moments where students ask me for a letter of recommendation that's due tomorrow, and my meeting schedule might be completely filled up already for that day, and it might not be possible, or I might need to work into the night in order to do that, and that would be really difficult for me and my family. So please be respectful. Give at least a 2 weeks notice as far as asking for somebody to make a recommendation for you. Recommenders are usually counselors. I'm considered the school counselor for our school. So if you do an application on Common App, be sure to put my name and email address as the school counselor. And I also do a letter of recommendations if required through the Common App, for an example. Also, your teachers, administrators, like me or Mr. Beck, or Lenny, if she knows you well. Also, other unrelated adults. So these should be non-family members. It's very helpful when I am asked to write a letter of recommendation to have additional information. And oftentimes I'll send a follow-up email to the student asking questions to help me get to know them a little bit better. But if you have a resume to give to the recommender, this is really helpful. These resumes include summaries of skills, your work experience, non-academic interests, community service that you might have done, awards or achievements that you might have earned outside of CPA, your purpose for getting a college degree. So, why did you choose the major that you want to pursue or the college that you want to pursue? And anything that might make you stand out as a student. Um, I know a lot of you through ASB related clubs and academics, but if you ask me for an example to make a letter of recommendation, I would like to know as much information about you as possible so that I can help you stand out. And that's part of the purpose of a letter of recommendation. And now for financial aid.
Mm, yeah.
So the FAFSA is open now, and it has been revamped over the last couple of years. And I heard that it is a lot more user friendly now, which
Yes.
Eleni, you can probably give some
Hmm.
firsthand experience on that.
Yeah. Yeah. So last year they went to this more digital format, and it was a nightmare because they didn't have all their kinks worked out. But now that kinks are worked out, and it is very much easy, a lot easier. So we, except for Kira, here's the nuts and bolts of FAFSA. Um, Even if you know you're not going to qualify for any federal funds, you want to still complete your FAFSA. One, some schools award scholarships as long as FAFSA is completed. So because they want to also make sure the person receiving the scholarship actually needs the scholarship. So I always say whether you are going to use, whether you think you're going to qualify or not, you want to apply for it. And also, it's just it's good for let's just say something happens in your family, something tragic, or someone loses their job, and maybe you need a little bit of, money that they offer you. You have it accessible if you've applied. Just because you get some money doesn't mean you have to use it. So, for example, okay, let's start with this because I'm getting too ahead of myself. First of all, if you haven't, you want to set up IDs. So each person will need, a student and parent need to go into the FAFSA website and they'll need to set up their IDs. You can't, you cannot even start your applications without your parent ID and your student ID. So once you get your ID, once you apply for your ID, then you wait, I don't know, about 3 to 5 days, and then you get your ID from FAFSA, and then you can start their process. So if Kira, if you haven't, since you're a senior, if you guys haven't done your FAFSAs yet, go and do that tonight. It doesn't take a long time. Both of you create an account. You and your mom create an account and get that set up. So in the next, as soon as you get your IDs, you can start your process in applying. And I think, yeah, so we did this. You'll need, just basic information. You don't need your tax returns. At least I didn't need mine. I know for everybody it's a little bit different, but I didn't need to submit any tax returns. I just had to know some things about, like, you have to have your social security number, um, and obviously your date of birth, your address, your emails, all of that. And then you may need to know just how much money you have in certain accounts. A lot of times they'll just ask you to put it in there. If they are checking some things, then they'll reply and say, please add this form to the FAFSA. But a lot of times, um, they're just asking, they're just going to take your information and then let you know that it's approved. Now, they're subsidized when you're going into college. There's what they had known as subsidized and unsubsidized loans. Your subsidized loans are the money that you can get, and it's not free money, although a lot of people will call it free money, because you get it you get a certain allotment of money each year for college that you don't have to pay back until 6 months after you graduate. So your freshman year, it's not that much, but it's 5,500. Your sophomore and junior year is 7,500. It's for the year only. And then your senior year, it's a little bit more. So these are funds that, these are the funds I'm talking about, that if you had to use them, let's just say money's tight, or you lose this happened both. I had two in college and I wasn't expecting it, and my husband lost his job for a little bit, and so I wasn't sure if I was going to need it, but it's nice to know that it's there to at least cover tuition. So whether you use it or not, but just a safety net, and if you don't use it, you don't have to. You just let the school know you're not using it. And so I highly recommend doing the FAFSA, no matter what. And like I said, there are some schools that if you're applying for a school scholarship, you will need to have FAFSA in order to even apply for that scholarship. So just do it. And then once you do it your first year, it's easy. The second, it's so much easier year 2, 3, and 4. Let's see. Oh yeah, and then on the FAFSA form, at some point it'll ask you to list your colleges. So they will automatically just contact your college once the FAFSA is done. So you're not even having to do that with the financial aid office at the college you want. They do allow you to list 20. If you're applying to more than 20, choose the top 20 that you think you're going to go to. You can always go back later and amend the list. But that way, as you're applying, what happens is, as they're applying and they're reviewing your application, they see, they start seeing the FAFSAs come through.
Mhm. Yeah, and like Eleni said, if you submit your application and then you decide later that you want to amend your college list, you could go back and you could remove colleges from your list on this FAFSA and you could add additional colleges. That's fine. That's a way to amend your FAFSA as far as the college list goes. Do pay attention to state deadlines. For an example, if you're applying to California schools, the Cal Grant has a deadline of March 2nd. And so you want to make sure to submit your FAFSA definitely before then. The earlier, the better. It's always better to err on the side of caution and then do it in the fall
Yeah.
prior
Yeah.
than waiting until the deadline. Every state has different deadlines. So I believe I saw one, I think Tennessee is April 15th, for an example, but always better to apply earlier rather than later. And
100%.
and if you're applying to, if you want to get something like the Cal Grant, make sure to have a California college on that list of colleges. Or if you're applying to, if you live in Tennessee and you are applying to a Tennessee school, then make sure that you have that Tennessee school on your list of colleges so that you could be considered for grants through that state as well.
Exactly. Yeah, like I already did my FAFSA for next year, like the minute it opened. I just wanted it out of out of sight, out of mind, like just done. So,
And then as far as other financial aid goes, there
mhm,
are college tuition discounts. So if you look at regionally, like on the West Coast, there's WUI, Western Undergraduate Exchange, which Eleni, I believe that one of
mhm,
your children took advantage of this, right? Do you
yes.
want to give some
Mhm.
information
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah. And so all of these that you see on here, they all work the same. I just, because I'm on the West Coast, we were part of WUI. So go to the next slide for me. I'm gonna just start here. Okay, so my daughter is at Boise State University. I'm just took the first year's how it works, but so Boise State was part of a network of Western state colleges that offer what we call this tuition discount. So basically, your tuition is similar to what you would pay if you were in an in-state school. So each in whatever area you are, you're gonna well, you're gonna want to find that group of schools that offer this. And I would have definitely applied to one because it does help financially. So um an in-state tuition at Boise was 12,000, non-residents was 36,000. This is just tuition, okay? With WUI, with her scholarship now, some schools have GPA requirements, some schools don't. Some schools, every school has it can be a little bit different, but so Boise State had a 3.6 GPA requirement. So she definitely got that. And so this helped save me $17,000. So her total, now this is just tuition. This is not room and board and everything, but her and this is for the year. So it's about 9,000. And I'm actually, this was when I did this initially, this was before she started going there. I'm going to tell you, it was more like her tuition was more like half of this. I mean, not half of this, but this is per semester. So like 9,000. So it is quite low. So after I saved this much money, I saved 17,000, but I think just for tuition, I'm paying about 9,000 for the year, which was very close to what I'd pay in state. And then you have to add on the living expenses. And believe it or not, going to a WUI school is actually cheaper than paying for an in-state school because the cost of living is much less out of state than it is in California. So she had her choice of this or San Diego State, and it's saving her, I don't know, maybe 3 to 5,000 a year by going out of state because of the WUI scholarship.
Can
So
you go back
that's
to
not
that
always going to be the
first
case.
slide?
Oh yeah, let me go back. The other one.
Yes.
Yeah. So these are the ones you want to look at. And find where state you're in, and they all work the same. So these are options to go out of state without necessarily paying out of state tuition. You're going to pay a little bit more tuition wise with the scholarship, but you're not, it's you're like $1,500 more maybe than what you would pay for in-state schools. And so I highly encourage you to apply to one or two of these in your areas, because like for my daughter, her first choice was San Diego State. She got in there, but decided to go to a WUI school instead. And so it just helps. I was all for it because I was like, oh, it's cheaper, actually. So
And
anyway, so yes.
these exchange programs tend to be clumped in other states around your area.
Mhm.
So if you
Yes.
live in Tennessee, I would look for the I believe it's
The
maybe the
Midwest.
Midwest Student Exchange Program,
Mhm.
and see which states and which universities participate in this.
Yeah.
So
And be
uh,
really careful, because some schools will be on there, but um, like for example, on the West Coast, Arizona State University is on there, but not their main campus, only their smaller campuses around. And then like University of Arizona is on there, but only for two majors. So you do want to make sure that whatever school you're looking at, go in and look. Like Boise State had a GPA requirement, and if for some majors it's higher than other majors. So you just want to make sure that you are looking, don't get too excited. Oh, there's schools on there. It's, you just make sure
Mhm.
it is, and it's what their requirements are.
mhm. And usually if it's an impacted major, if there's so many
Mhm.
students that are applying for a particular major, then it's less likely that it will be on the list. But if the major that you're
Mhm.
pursuing is not as impacted, there's not as many applications that are applicants trying to get into that major, then it might be more likely to be on these lists. All right. Now, as we approach the end of our workshop for today, there's also a lot of other scholarships available. So I've even seen scholarships for people with green eyes. It could be very random, and it could be very specific, or it could be very general. And it could be also location specific. So you might even look up wherever city that you're living in right now, look for specific scholarships available for your children who live in that specific city. So I'd highly encourage you to do some research on your own. But these are some other websites that might be beneficial to find certain scholarships. Big Future through College Board tends to be a big one. Scholarship search through fastweb.com. For those of you who do live internationally, there's a non-US citizen and immigrants website here. Appley is another good website. The Fair Opportunity Project, Going Mary, and the Department of Labor also has a scholarship finder website. So in the chat, there is a PDF presentation of what we've gone over today, and they do have active links. So I highly encourage you to press on those links and to do a little research on your own. And then if you do have additional questions, don't hesitate to call, or rather email Lenny or I. Here's our email addresses. And a lot of you have heard from us before during the registration process and confirming your courses. So you should have our emails. But we're here to help, and we enjoy helping you. And so don't hesitate to reach out to us.